Hi everyone, Eric here, your host, Farmfolio blog. This week I'm sitting down with CEO Oscar Baracaldo, and we're going to be talking about a couple of interesting things, mostly focus on the sort of generalized increase in the price of land assets here in Colombia, sort of the factors that are going into that, and where it positions us as we enter 2024. So, Oscar, thanks for joining me. I'd like to start with the visit that you guys conducted, I believe it was last week, to a couple of the farms. Saw the footage from that, talked to JC, who was with you as well. And looks like things are going really well out there. What can you tell me about that?
Absolutely. So we are lucky to have great weather here in Colombia. I think part of what transitioned from 2022 to 2023 has been, an excess of rain in the country, which we reported last year. Reduce some of our volumes for the farm, but this year weather has just been amazing. I mean, all the ducks are in a row for high production, and we're seeing week by week record-breaking numbers coming out of the farm. So it was fun to see that. It was great to see just a lot of busy work in regards to harvest, which brings new challenges, of course, like becoming more efficient on the harvest, moving the fruit and whatnot. But I think the team and the management team at each farm is making stellar efforts towards that regard, and they're really starting to hone down into creating more of those efficiencies, which is a nice thing. Sure, it's a challenge, but having volume allows the team to be able to create new levels of negotiation, ultimately better results for the farms overall. So that's on a high note. Obviously, a big part of what we're doing there was do our quarterly visit and help with a slight push towards the right direction of things. Obviously, not everything is always perfect. I mean, one of the things that you have to fence in a domicile, in a Latino domicile or origin like Colombia. I mean, that's the world over, but specifically, I think more so in Latin America, people as the holidays come in tend to really get into Bible things.
It's a different animal here. Christmas is not this sort of somber and tranquil holiday that it is in the United States. Your eggnog and your fire. It's fireworks and cane liquor. I'll go to the end.
Exactly. So I think that really started rubbing off on people in a good way or bad way, if you already want to see it. But ultimately, a big part of what we're doing right here is really pushing toward being excellent, regardless of the week of the year. Right, that's what really brings our consistency. It's better for the farms, better for our people, better for the farm owners, and also it's better for our customers. Because during those periods is where they face challenges regarding on-time deliveries and in full deliveries, which is the key measurement when you're in this kind of game, this kind of business. And so overall, as I said, harvests are coming in strong, especially the last 2 weeks of December, maybe splurging over into the first week of January. So part of the strategy that we're kind of assisting the management and tying into the commercialization of the fruit is, hey, listen, let's move the activities forward. Let's bring some of the fruit out first, so we don't have that full impact, especially in a week like Christmas and New Year's Eve, in order to be able to arrive at the market during the Christmas, especially the Christmas week. So that's when grocery stores want to have availability as people are getting ready for the holidays. And that's working well. So ultimately, how that works is saying, hey, let's communicate that forward to our customers, telling them, hey, we're going to have smaller fruit, but you're going to have it by Christmas, so it's going to be a good thing. And ultimately, we're not going to have interruption in the operations or the quality of the fruit coming out of the farm. So that's on the positive, and really push into make all those transitional activities occur now. So the overall culture doesn't push things forward to say middle of January, February, when everybody here usually comes back from the holiday buzz around the second week, third week, or even the first week of February. Because it's kind of like the summer equivalent in the US. They kick around for about 2 months. I mean, it's everything comes together. So I think overall the team's faring well. Obviously, it's a big cultural change, but one that is really setting us up for success going forward, and really bringing that consistency. So farms are looking great, trees are looking great. the teams in high spirits. We're kind of, I mean, the management teams are getting the job done on obviously the activities, but also that cultural uh, part of sharing with them in preparation for the holidays. So we're bringing in a little earlier the holiday get together with everybody. I mean, spending time with the kids, the community.
Sure, sure,
That
sure.
outreach program is very important because these are people that you're sharing with, on the weekly basis for years to come. So we're really building that with those communities, and I think that's making us stronger. I mean, all of us. I mean, the workers, the communities, and ourselves because of it. So all good there. Obviously, all kinds of challenges, but things that we're prepared for and that we're turning into opportunities.
Yeah, great. Well, hope that we get the chance to share that with people. Some of the festivities. I know that it might not be, people's the thing that's on people's minds necessarily, but it's important to build that community and important to establish the trust, with the people that we work with internally, third party, So,
Absolutely.
but
In all fronts, in all regards, the
yeah.
communities, the farms, our staff, the farm managers, even our customers. This is the time that we really come together and start, really closing the chapter for the year and really starting to dream and forecast what the new year's
solidify those relationships. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit actually, because a big part of the value proposition of what we're doing is based on being able to connect farmland assets here in Colombia with retail, retailers and big distributors in principally in the United States.
Sure.
And that really, not only has it elevated us as a company, operationally speaking, and being able to go to the farm level and sort of shape the fruit to the client's needs, but it's also adding value to the land. And so I wanted to talk about that as well. We're heading into 2024. We've seen a very generalized increase in asset prices, especially real estate, worldwide, and in general. And also specifically within Colombia. So I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about that. What have been the factors that have driven that growth, and how does it affect our farms and sort of rural land prices here in Colombia?
Sure, absolutely. So it's a twofold, really. It's the appetite for the fruit with Colombia becoming the nearshoring hub for all food products for the US, mainly as Mexico is going to transition into a more industrial role with factories, and you're seeing a lot of that Chinese, manufacturing, stronghold starting to really move the needle into
thing
big time. And I've had several conversations about this, but I mean that's another topic. Colombia, and specifically the fruit, veggies, food is becoming in high demand, right? So that's something that's driving prices higher. Still, I mean, the economy being what the economy is efficient, and it will be efficient in a way that will squeeze any excess that's not being efficient enough to be able to participate in the market. So it's not like, hey, we're just gonna take over the world on food prices alone, but hey, it's on par with our projections and works out for fairly well. And I think it should be a win-win for everybody. But the demand is there. That's what the overall message is. So that's one side of the story. The other side of the story is land, right? And sure, we talked about, foreign demand for real estate properties, big transactions from foreign institutions occurring during 2023 here in the country, which, yes, it moved the needle, but, foreign attention alone is not going to move the needle alone. What's really moving the needle is inflation, overall cost of doing business. I mean, maintaining rural land or urban land has become more expensive. Construction, fuel, materials overall during the last 4 years have accrued and created more costly assets, and that's a fact. I think that's a global fact. The other part of it is supply and demand. Now, from a supply and demand perspective, what's occurring is we're going through a strong generational change in South America. And Colombia, being a leader from a GDP growth perspective, is really, spearheading that effort or that transition, really.
Sure.
Where you're seeing, people in their mid 60s, early 60s, starting to retire. And I think something that really fueled that transition into them moving into more rural areas of Colombia. You know, you go back 1950s, 1960s, I mean, a huge exodus of rural areas into the big cities in Colombia occurred. That's been the norm for a long time because of several factors, right? 2000, the new century comes in, and that's kind of slowly started to change, but the pandemic changed everything. Right? People found themselves, hey, let's just go back to our farmhouse and hang out. I mean, this city's shut off. Let's spend the next whatever amount of months, and then they got really, you know, just comfortable with the idea. Like, oh, wait a second, this got really good. There's cops now. There's hospitals. There's infrastructure. This road wasn't here before. These stores, this mall, this gas station. This is really looking up because of all the infrastructure development that Colombia is having, which is obviously a big part of the appreciation story. But it's all these city folk that are moving from big cities like Bogota, Barranquilla, Medellin. I mean, you name it.
Totally. I know half a dozen people who have done that exact thing.
There you go. So that is increasing value of the land, right? I mean, you're seeing, you know, rural land transforming into semi-urban or urban land very quickly, and you're seeing a lot of subdivision. So I think that's overall why it's occurring, and it's kind of a catch-up of an emerging economy like Colombia with real estate prices across the world. I'm not saying, hey, this is going to be real estate prices of the US, you know, Southeast, which, I mean, the same thing occurred in the US. You had a lot of, you know, big city folk moving into, I mean, even places like your home state, Texas, a lot of incoming flow, driving land prices up, driving real estate prices up. But I do have to say, in the US case, totally overpriced. I mean, just outside, at least from what I think should be the norm. I think we are to see a huge correction, but I mean, we're not here to talk about that. So I'm going to focus on the Colombian real estate aspect of things, where again, yes, it's the foreign nature of supply and demand, but it's very focalized. Again, that's not going to move the needle enough. What is moving the needle is that transition of city life to semi-urban. Hey, let's bring down the energy down a little, and let's live out there because the comps are now available, right? And that's going to drive a lot of that, because historically you can go back, I mean, and that's global. The biggest cities have been built around the most fertile land that those respective countries may have had in the past. I mean, you name it, right? And that's the exact same case here in Colombia, because I mean, you have the people who settled, they started growing their food, and then, you know, one thing led to the other, and then you have these big cities and the concrete coming in. So on the edges and outer edges of those towns, you have those really fertile properties that are close to infrastructure, which is needed to be able to move the produce, right? In our case. So that's really what's driving it up. And, you know, next year come ourselves because of it, because of all the costs. I mean, you have a lot of costs coming in. I mean, our harvest proceeds and returns are still solid going forward, but because of all the aforementioned reasons, I mean, we're going to be looking at, you know, overall prices going up 12 to 15% across the board from a real estate perspective here in Colombia. And there is a narrow, you know, window of opportunity that I really think is going to be within the next 12, 24 months, max 36 months, where you're going to be able to really work towards locking down those prices. Because, I mean, you have to look at it from a farmland use instead of an urban use in order to make sure that, you know, the per piece or per kilo or per ton return to the land makes sense and amortize going forward for that use, instead of thinking, hey, I'm going to amortize the use of this land because, well, I don't know, it's going to be a subdivision gas station, right? It's going to be based on the actual use of property, which in this case is farmland.
Sure. That's interesting. So just to be clear, you know, we're looking at a scenario where asset prices are increasing. And like you said, you know, in the United States, they're already reaching a ceiling. It just doesn't look like it can go anywhere from that. But to be clear, you know, this is going to necessitate an increase in the price of the land assets that we offer.
Sure.
What do you think that's going to look like?
I'm thinking it's going to be 12 to 15%.
12 to 15%.
Yeah, we're trying to finish up the details as we're preparing. Obviously, the conversation. We're market first. We're not Planet Hope, as we've reported in the past, and then our entire business model is based on it. The reason why we want to move fast is because the window of opportunity is closing. Right. We want to be able to lock those land prices and be able to profit against the growth that we have from a commercialization perspective. Big retail programs like Walmart, Costco, and the programs that we're servicing, they're looking for fair prices going forward. They're planning. I mean, we just had several meetings during the last couple of weeks, strategic meetings for a 3-year forward plan, and they're thinking 10 years, right? How are we going to be able to maintain the demand that's growing? How are we going to maintain fair prices? Because, I mean, the consumer is going to have a limit. This can't just continue. This is not the gift that keeps on giving for anybody, right? I mean, efforts are going to have to be made to become an efficient economy again, right? We can't, although we're in a hyperinflation environment, this can't go forward forever. This is going to dismantle economies, and it's a true concern, right? And where we really fit and really snug in with these kind of programs is where we understand that we gotta lock prices now, right? We gotta work in these origins that allow us to really be able to become a partner for the programs for the consumer, right? Because ultimately it is the consumer who's going to be affected, right? And the overall plan is, hey, we've got 24 to 36 months. That's it, right? We got a set amount of hectarage or acreage that we're going to put to play that's already been targeted. Sure, prices are going to go up, but
for the products categories that we've targeted.
Correct. And here I'm focusing mostly on land. That's where a lot of the heavy conversations being had, because citrus is a lot closer to urban areas than say coconut. Coconut's got, I mean, it's in a complete different timeline, right? Because of what it is, the harvesting and post-harvesting processes that occur with coconut. So yeah, again, look, full summary, we got 24 months to lock those prices before it becomes too expensive, and truly there's not going to be any considerable yield to be had for somebody who wants to be able to participate, unless you want to buy the piece of property and farm it yourself, right? Because it's just how efficient the economy will become, and how these emerging economies, which catch up fast, which is the nice part, right? Sure, we're locking down the prices now to be able to amortize for the use of agriculture. But the beauty of it is locking them now means that we're going to be able to participate of that appreciation during the next 24 to 36 months. I mean, you look at land or just real estate at this city alone, back 5 years ago, I mean, it's gone up 3 times, right?
And that's in an area where there's a sort of a ceiling. I mean, in these more rural areas, I mean, here in Medellin, you have a level of development and it's great. But in these other areas, you have highways that didn't exist before, bridges that didn't exist before, tunnels that didn't exist before. Like all of these comps that you mentioned are just now really starting to come in, and that's going to have a huge impact on things, coupled with the sort of generalized inflationary pressure worldwide, and then the foreign interest in Colombia, both from a sort of investment perspective and the market perspective. So you have this sort of perfect storm of factors that are going into this, and that will lead to, like you mentioned, an increase in prices. But there are a lot of things that you mentioned that I would love to touch on, but I think we're going to have to keep it short.
Yeah, look, full summary, and I think this is important to broadcast, right? I mean, food prices can't just continue going up forever, right? That's why there's a set window of opportunity for this to happen, right? We can't just say, hey, just because land prices continue to go up, well, the consumer is just going to have to pay up. Right?
Consumer can't take on.
The economy is incredibly efficient. It will squeeze out any inefficiencies. In order for us to stay in course with that efficiency metric, right? We need to be able to act within this time for this specific product category. Other product categories will have other opportunities, but this is, I think, a call out to say, hey, the window of opportunity is closing. And it's become very palpable for us now that we're acting on this level of interaction with, large companies that interact directly with the consumer, especially in markets like the US, right? And that the window is closing and that efficiency is being called upon to be able to say, hey, this is enough. I mean, we can't just, print more money, make money more expensive, and just, kind of put the dirt under the rug and just
Kick the
hope,
can down the road.
just kick the can on the road. I mean, there's a big pressure to say, hey, enough is enough,
Yeah.
and we need to become efficient, right? And I think that's what really marks the entire effort that we're doing. And I think it's truly a dream come true for us. I mean, when we started at Farmfolio, sure, we knew we wanted to sell the produce, but never did we think we were going to be, interacting at the level that we're interacting with the programs
The
and
highest level that there is. I mean,
Right.
Walmart use it large, but that's an understatement for a company like Walmart. I mean, we're talking largest.
Yeah.
You
Look, I
know?
mean, hard numbers, marked. I mean, Walmart moves 35% of all line that's moved in the US. That's who we're dealing with. And of course, yes, we have to diversify. We're well diversified on our mark, but this really allows us to be able to compete at the highest standard possible, which is great for everybody, right?
Yeah.
It really gives everybody an alignment towards the market and understanding why we're here in Colombia. If you wouldn't be able to do it anywhere else at this point. And say we're the right team, we have the right opportunity, we have the right land, and we're at the right point in time to make this happen. And sometimes it's the coulda, woulda, shoulda story, right? And we're here at this moment of great opportunity, with great attention, and time to act is now. So
Yeah.
I'm very glad to have built what we've built. I'm very grateful for the team that we have here and all the support that we've had by farm owners, investors, and our customers, right? And we're ready for the task at hand.
Yeah.
And it's this window of opportunity. The next 24 to 36 months are going to be paramount and are going to set us apart, all of us together, farm owners, ourselves as Farmfolio, our commercialization, our clients apart. And it's one of those moments that, create great wealth and fairness in pricing, for everybody across the supply chain. So really excited to see what comes forward.
Great. Well, can't wait to see what 2024 holds in store. Hope you guys have enjoyed this little bit of insight, and we'll be coming at you soon with some more exciting content. So stay tuned, and we'll talk to you soon.